you for joining us here today. Our guest is the Foreign Minister of Tunisia, who's had an extremely distinguished career as a career diplomat before becoming the Foreign Minister of his country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, it's a very challenging time for Tunisia, and it must be very challenging to be able to speak about your country these days. So really, I admire you for coming here on the stage and to be hopefully answering some challenging questions. So Tunisia was the poster child of the Arab Spring, much vaunted for the fact that its democracy managed to stay on its feet with democratically elected governments, civilian governments, albeit very messy ones. But things seem to be kind of going south since President Kais Saied came to power in a landslide election, pledging to fix things, and particularly the economy, which seemed to be the main concern of the Tunisian people as they saw these successive coalition governments unable to make things better. So why today is it still a problem? Why today are there 18 ships filled with wheat docked outside Tunisian ports, unable to be unloaded because your government cannot pay for that? Why are Tunisians unable to find bread today?
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this presentation. I do agree with some elements of it, but I disagree with the others. And for me, this is a good opportunity to speak about Tunisia, about its experience since 2011. After 2011, and 11 years later, we have experienced a fake democracy with foreign components imposed from outside our borders through Tunisian elements, that's true, but the whole story has been discovered by Tunisians themselves, and they have been very clear in rejecting this appropriate model and to build their own with their internal forces, which is very important, because if you really want a proper democracy, this should come from your internal forces completely. This is the experience of all what we call today the old democracies. For those old democracies, all of them took more than 100 years to be more or less stabilized, and still they are very much challenged today. In the case of Tunisia, 11 or 12 years or 13 years is almost nothing. But we want to benefit from the experience of all who were before us. Democracy, nobody, no country on earth has the monopoly of democracy. There's no definition of it. There's no two models that are completely equal in democracy. Each country, each people, according to its history, to its characteristics, to its constraints, to its environment, has to build his own democracy. If you visit Tunisia, you will notice that when you enter a country where people are free, where radios are free, where TV are free, where every official can be criticized, even hardly, then you feel that you are not in an autocratic system. We in Tunisia are correcting. It's the same dynamic since 2011, which is operating today in Tunisia. What happened is 11 years after 2011, people said, but we asked for real democracy, for justice, because in our part of the world, when you talk about democracy, this should bring and mean also justice. Since we didn't have that, today the middle class of Tunisia is completely very much weakened compared to 11 and 13 years ago. So you don't expect from a revolution, which is to bring democracy to have the results that we have. And it is not Tunisians that are saying that. It's in the Western companies that are saying that the Tunisian economy is in a very bad situation, very difficult one, despite the fact that we have all the ingredients to do very well. But this is the result of extremely bad governance from those who have been supported by the West during more than 11 years with the catastrophic results. This is what happened in Tunisia. But in our world, unfortunately, when you are right, it does not mean essentially that you are heard. When a few months ago I have been invited by the Washington Post for an interview that lasted 1 hour and 15 minutes, they didn't publish any line except 4 lines on migration, and this was 3 months later. Whereas for me it was a very good opportunity to address myself to the public opinion in this very friendly country and to explain what is the situation. So by no means today in Tunisia we are in a way to justify ourselves. This is the past. We used to justify ourselves. Yes, yes, we are a democracy. Yes, yes, but listen, see what we are doing, etc. Now this logic is ended. It's ended among our people. They are saying that, okay, now we know everything. Now we want to build a democracy. And we are a country which, during our history, our people has all the time sought for dignity and freedom. Our women did vote before Western women. When it comes to slavery, we abolished it before others. So, but this is not known enough, yes, and which is more important, it is not conveyed. This message is not conveyed because it is not in the agenda. The agenda should put Tunisia in a corner, a racist country, whereas we are the Brazil of North Africa. All our history, we live with tourism. How can we be a racist country? So it's my opportunity today to bring those elements and to launch an appeal. If our world is really working on ethics and on justice, then Tunisia should be treated in another manner.
Mr. Minister, the economy, why is the economy in the situation it is still today? It's been a long time now, since 2019, when your president came to power.
Thank you for this.
And you're in the process of negotiating a deal with the IMF and with the European Union. The European Union has pledged some $200 million euros in funds for this migration deal, yet none of it has been dispersed, in part because they feel that your government is not meeting certain criteria. So how do you propose to make things better?
The damage caused after those 11 and 12 years cannot be repaired in 1 or 2 years. This is the amount of damage caused to our public services. They recruited more than 100,000 of people without no competences. And now it's very difficult to get rid of them because we have our trade unions, because you cannot throw families like that on the street. And because we have to manage the stability of the country. So when the IMF comes and says, you should do this and this and this, and we say, okay, but now the situation is not allowing to do so. We have our red lines, and we are ready to discuss inside those red lines, because it is in the interest of nobody that Tunisian economy goes badly. It is in the interest of no one in the region.
Yes, and one of the deals that I mentioned with the European Union had to do with migration, as I said, and we're now hearing stories that the Tunisian authorities have forcibly displaced thousands of these illegal immigrants from the town of Sfax. And there's grave concerns about what may have happened to them, whether they've been pushed to the Libyan border again, where, as we know, many died already because of your government's actions. And this is one reason there's so much debate within the European Union today about whether or not to proceed with this deal. Do you feel that your government is taking the necessary actions and in a humane way to deal with this very, very serious problem of illegal migration?
If we compare ourselves to other governments and other countries, believe me, we have absolutely no lesson to receive when it comes to humanity and humanitarian treatment of people. In other parts of the world, they build walls. They shoot people that try to enter the countries. We haven't done so. But we have warned the international community that Tunisia alone, like any other country alone, cannot tackle this issue alone with our own means. And still with our limited means, we are doing our maximum. But we cannot open the borders for those who are immigrating because of failed politics and failed policies in the south of our borders. We cannot open the frontiers. We are respecting the law, but we are respecting humanitarian law as well. And the Red Crescent in Tunisia is doing a lot. Tunisian families are doing a lot. Nobody spoke about the more than 1 million we received after the chaos introduced in Libya, which is 40% of our economy. So Tunisia, since 2011, is put in a corner with an impossible situation. I mean, we should open our border for migration. We should, every crisis that we are suffering from, we have no responsibility in it. No one. And when it comes to democracy and our internal business, we are only saying, let us do this. This is internal home affairs. We don't interfere in any country in the world. Why should other countries interfere in our internal affairs? So, but they have. We understand that other countries may have their own agenda, but it should not be at the cost of Tunisia. Never.
But I think Tunisians themselves may be a bit concerned as well. You had 11% turnout in your parliamentary elections, which is extraordinarily low and speaks to the disaffection of the public. At the same time, you have many politicians in jail, including the leader of Ennahda, Rashid Ghannouchi, and some would argue on very flimsy charges. All of this, of course, does raise serious questions about Tunisia's democracy. But moving on to foreign policy, can we talk a little bit about your relations with the United States, and in particular, your defense cooperation, which is of high value to the United States? I'd like to hear your views on this partnership going forward and why it's important for Tunisia.
Before that, I would like to come back to what you said about the politicians in jail in Tunisia. This sentence is not a true one. Which is true is that nobody today in Tunisia, at the opposite of what we had the years before, is above the law. No one. It is not because you are a former politician. It is not because you are a journalist. It is not because you have a special connection with the foreign countries or parties and you have dirty business with them that you should be above the law. It is so. We apply the law. And I make almost every week very sure with my colleagues from Interior Minister and Justice that every procedure is respected. They say yes. And this is the truth. But, you know, when you start to apply the law, sometimes you have great surprises. And you can, many people in Tunisia say that so many others should be in jail as well. So we are not working properly to apply the law like it is here. When I was entering here, despite the fact that I was invited, that I am a Minister of Foreign Affairs for a friendly country, I had to go through a screening. So you apply the law blindly. So when we start to do it in our part of the world, why should we be put in a corner and criticized? That's why I wanted to go back. We have no politicians in jail because of they being politician. No, but if they are not in conformity with the law, they can enter the jail, whoever you are. This is the reality. Now, when it comes to our relations with the US, this is a friendly country. We were among the first to recognize the US. And we would like to rely very much on the ethic of the US. When you are big, when you are powerful, when and you behave like you behave, I mean, to apply the law, etc., you should understand all those who are trying to do the same and to apply the law and to build their own system. It took you dozens of years to establish your democracy here. Now, we are only 11, 12 years old. But so this cooperation with the US is very important from us. I come from a family with a private history when we saw the British and the American soldiers liberating our part of the world and living in our own houses. So this is the America that we like and very respectful for its partners, big, middle size, small size. There are no small and great countries. And we consider ourselves as a great country when it comes to history and to our contribution to universality. We have never created any war, any aggression against anyone, any country, any people on earth. We have received different people. Tunisia, North Africa received different people. That's why we are a melting pot. So we received the different ethnics, races, everything. And all of them were integrated in that part of the world. Yes, it's very mild to live there. It's nice, etc. But people are welcoming. Tunisian people is known for being welcoming people, not for being racist. But this is the work of media, selective medias. And I'm very glad to be able to say this today in front of all your guests, and I salute them, all of them.
Well, I can attest to the fact that the Tunisian people are very welcoming of foreigners. I've been to your country on several reporting trips. But with regard to racism, of course, it's clearly not helpful when your president suggests that Storm Daniel that just hit Libya was a Zionist plot and sort of used the name Daniel to prove his theory. What is Tunisia's position on the Abraham Accords? Do you support the United States' efforts to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel and other Arab nations? And would Tunisia be willing to take that step as well of normalizing relations with Israel, and on what conditions?
Again, I come back to what you said. The President Qais Said has no theory in his mind. When he cites someone who wrote something or an idea, he's not saying, I do agree with that. When he's warning about, a few months ago, about a problem which is above Tunisia alone and above a group of countries alone and should be tackled in the whole region, he was right, and he's right. And a few months later, facts gave him showed that he was right. That's why the European came to us and said, we would like to sign this agreement with you, and they understand that this agreement is above only migration. It's not, migration is one pillar. There are 4 other pillars, and this is the right approach for our partnership. We have always said that our partnership should be global. We are not the soldier of the Mediterranean. We will not solve alone the problem of migration. To solve the problem of migration, if we had this approach, this country would not exist, because those who were here before would have closed every frontier, which is not the case. The world doesn't function like that. History shows that. It's not my theory or President Said theory. So now when it comes to Middle East, I mean, Middle East, we have been so clear all the time. We stick to principles. We stick to international legality. We consider no one is above the law. No one is above international legality. As long as everyone stick to it and applies it, we are okay. We have no problem. But when this is not the case, we do not agree, and there is no consideration of any agreement that we should go. Whatever is okay for the Palestinians, we would go with that. For the Palestinians, the rights of Palestinians is for us something which is sacred, like the rights of everyone. We are a country that stick to principles. We have no hatred. We have not against no one on earth. But we consider that if something should be solid and last and be accepted by the whole population, etc., it should stick to international legality and bind everyone. like that. But for those who are situating themselves above that, we cannot agree at all.
Well, we're running out of time here. We've only got 10 seconds left. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Minister?
My hope is that this message be conveyed, but I am not so optimistic. I think we will need more time.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Minister. It was a pleasure.